This week has just been one of those weeks. Nothing goes to plan. Nothing goes correctly. Everything falls apart as I try my best to do it. Everything that I think is going to be a good idea ends up being a terrible idea. I'm making videos that I absolutely hate and I'm deleting. It's been pants. But today I've woken up feeling very much non-pants. Like, extremely non-pants. I feel super fired up to make a Hermitcraft episode to the point where it is currently 6 in the morning. And, well, I really want to just see if I can make this whole episode within... This is a stupid challenge that I've given myself, okay? It's not very often that I do this, but I really want to see if I can get this whole video all done from start to finish and uploaded and out in one day. Now I have got 14 hours to make that happen. Maybe 15 hours because I can release it an hour late. Potentially 16 hours if I fancy releasing it really late. But that's not very long for a Hermitcraft episode. So I'm going to have to be incredibly efficient. I'm going to have to work incredibly fast. I'm going to have a lot of fun. There we go, base. You have a great day. And 1 diamond block for me for keeping him alive in the previous episode of Hermitcraft. And actually, this was not part of my plans for today, but I think we can finally remove this ugly, ugly build from outside my base. Like, the whole thing is looking incredible. And then we have this mess. Yeah, this can go. Also, looking at the base from out here, I think it might be high time that we actually did a little bit of ruination to this outside area of the base, just to really get it all tying in, and maybe even a little bit on the outside here. But that is a mega project, and definitely not something that I'm going to be doing today. I cannot tell you how happy I feel right now. This is the exit that I tend to use most often. This is where I fly out, and every single time I fly out of this thing, that monstrosity was the first thing that I would notice. It would catch my eye and it would make me feel a little bit ill. So even if we do nothing else in this Hermitcraft episode, it's been one of the best episodes of the season. But we're not going to do nothing else. Instead, we're going to go to the industrial district. We have made a lot of progress over here over the past couple months, but over the past couple weeks, I haven't really touched it. And to be honest, I've been itching to get back because I have some big plans for what I actually want to do over here. And I think there is a potential chance that in today's Hermitcraft episode, we might actually get this full quadrant finished, because as far as I can remember, there is only 2 farms left to put in this area, and one of them isn't even a farm. So one of them is going to be a gigantic super smelter, which I'm hoping should be able to snake round in this area here to give us just a huge number of furnaces. And then over here, I think it's going to be a cactus farm, but I might make the cactus farm a little bit smaller to squeeze in another type of farm, because let's be honest, I mean, having lots of cactus is nice. But I don't know if I need this much cactus. Like, that would be an awful lot of cactus. I'm going to think about it while placing in my warts. Having thought about it, I would say first things first, we get this super smelter in place. I can't believe it is episode, 63 of Hermitcraft, and we don't have a super smelter. We're still just chucking items into furnaces in the middle of my base, and that's just, frankly, that's just a little bit embarrassing, really. With that being said, this is only really useful for true bulk smelting. Like, it doesn't really make sense to use it for just a couple stacks of items. This needs to be stacks upon stacks upon stacks. So I am actually going to have to build another super smelter that's a little bit smaller at some point, which definitely isn't a bad thing because, frankly, I love building super smelters. Right, the first thing that I have to work out is I have to work out our minecart pickup system. So this should be filling in with items now, and that's good, because I didn't actually put that many items inside this hopper. If I put this up to 2 stacks, how many items do we get now? In it goes. It gradually fills up. Well, I say gradually, it fills up incredibly fast, and well, now I'm going to have to do some maths. And I hate to say it, that took an embarrassingly long time, and I got it wrong, and I had to use a calculator. But this works out to be 2 stacks plus 1. So we need 2 stacks plus 1 furnaces with this setup right here, which is perfect. So to quickly explain what's going to happen here, our hopper minecart is going to roll into the system. It's going to pick up 2 stacks plus 1 items, and then is going to roll off over all of these furnaces here, and there are going to be exactly 2 stacks plus 1 furnaces, which means that there is 1 item for every single furnace. So as the hopper minecart rolls along, it's going to deposit an item into each one of the furnaces, which means that all of the furnaces are going to be active and smelting all those items at the same time. So if you imagine how long it takes for a furnace to smelt an item, this is going to smelt 2 stacks plus 1 items in that amount of time. So I think it's safe to say that it's going to be relatively swift. And this is what it looks like, which already it looks really cool. I mean, I think all of you saw this coming. Check that out. When we get all the hoppers in and all of the minecart rails, and then the minecart rails for the coal distribution and everything, you know that I'm going to be celebrating. You know that I'm going to be doing a lot more of those in this Hermitcraft episode, right? Man, the base looks so cool from back here. What is my render distance on? I was wondering why things were getting a bit frame ratey. So we are making some pretty serious progress on this thing. I've gone out, I've gathered up all of the hoppers required to at least do a lot of this. So we've got all of the top hoppers in. Those are of course going to be dropping in the items that are going to be smelted. Then we have these little side hoppers, which are going to be putting in the fuel for the furnaces. And there's one thing that I am kind of thinking about at this point in time. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure what I'm actually going to fuel this thing with. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is bamboo. We have a gigantic bamboo farm there. We could potentially do that. Like, that does make a lot of sense. I'd say yeah, that's the best way to go. So now that I've got all the hoppers running into the sides, I'm now going to create some water streams which will allow us to run bamboo along the sides of these hoppers. So I guess we can have a switch where we select whether or not the bamboo goes from the bamboo farm into this or up into the storage system. Now, I've just done a little bit of maths, and with all of the bamboo in all of the furnaces and all the hoppers, we can smelt 160 stacks of items. I was a little bit concerned that we wouldn't be able to keep up with the fueling, but 160 stacks of items, I mean, that's quite a lot for someone like me. So all of the bamboo water stream areas are now all in place. So this is where all of the bamboo is going to be running. And the way that we're just going to set this up, it's nice and simple, is as the bamboo flows in, it's just going to gradually fill up each one of the furnaces and the hopper. So once this gets filled, obviously it will fill up the next one and the next one and the next one. And then eventually it will fill right the way to the end. Now, it might not be the best solution because, of course, that means that the entire super smelter needs to be filled with bamboo for it to be functional, but that bamboo farm is pretty efficient, so I think it should permanently be filled. If not, then we can change things up at a later date. Just to give you guys a bit of a time check here, we are now 9 hours away from the release of this video, and the thing that is absolutely killing my time is the fact that I keep leaving things in my base, and I keep having to go back and forth. But with that being said, the thing that is making me incredibly happy is how ridiculously awesome this build is looking at this point in time. Now that we've got the water in place, now that we've got the powered rails going in, it does look incredible. And it's also, I would say, around about 80% done. So, as I say, we've got all the powered rails in, we've got all the water in, and that powered rail now loops back up to the start. So this is going to be our minecart storage chamber. All of the hopper minecarts are going to be stocked up in this area here. All I have to do now is create a system that releases them. And I'm actually not entirely sure how I'm going to do that. However, I do just about have the roughest of rough ideas, which I think is going to be, yeah, a comparator running out from our input chest. That makes sense. So the system will detect when we put items in, and then that will release a minecart. And then I guess when this fires and also there's stuff inside of here, then that means that a new minecart is needed. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. I don't know if that made sense. But now that it's built, I think it does make sense. You know, comparator coming out from here, and then, you know, and then you've got the repeaters going into there, dropping the minecarts down, and the falling edge monostable circuits, and the rising edge monostable circuits. What is my problem? I think I'm just going to give up on trying to make this thing make sense. I'm fairly certain it works. But with that being said, I don't know that it works. And if it doesn't work, then those previous segments are going to be extra embarrassing because I've failed to explain something that doesn't actually work. So all of it's been pointless and you've all wasted your time. That is very oddly satisfying to look at. Right, let's give this a whirl then. So I'm about to dump cobblestone in here. Our first hopper minecart has gone in, and this should get loaded up with the correct number of items. If it doesn't, I cry. Yes. Good. Oh, no. Oh, that's... that is something that I hadn't really thought of. We're getting... we're getting 2 sets being sent off each time, which isn't necessarily a horrendous problem. But still, it's definitely suboptimal, isn't it? It's definitely suboptimal. Right, let's see if the actual furnace... Oh, gosh, it's all breaking. Let's see if the actual furnace distribution is working properly. So if I just look through all of these... They should all have 2 bits of cobblestone on the inside of them. Every single one of the furnaces that we look at should all have 2 bits of cobblestone. Let's look at the last furnace. I'm definitely curious about this one. 2 bits of cobblestone. Okay, so that's fantastic. All I've had to do to fix up the double minecart problem is increase the delay from this circuit here. So this circuit is the one that works out when there's a hopper minecart there and when there isn't. So when that hopper minecart leaves, we then have a little bit of a delay before we request the next one. Now, did that make sense? Honestly, I don't know anymore. Ooh, yes. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. That is beautiful. Now obviously we still have quite a bit of work left to do, taking the bamboo from the bamboo farm over to the super smelter. And actually I've just realised also the output of the super smelter, currently we don't have an output at all. So there's still jobs, but I want to mix things up just a tiny bit, very, very briefly, because there's two things that I've been meaning to do for an incredibly long time. But before we do those, it's time for some shameless, slightly not shameless self-promotion. On Saturday, the 12th of December, I'm running a half marathon with my friend Tom. We're doing it for the charity Mind, and I'll put a link to where you can donate down in the description. Now, we did have an official event lined up where we were going to be running in an actual race, but due to COVID-19 and the lockdown in the UK, all events like that got completely shut down. So we're making our own event. And we're just going to meet up and we're going to run somewhere. We're just going to run 13 miles. We don't really even have a route planned out. We're just going to run. We do have a time that we're aiming for, which I'm not going to talk about just in case we don't hit it. And that's really embarrassing. But I'm going to take my camera with me, my little stills camera. I'm going to shoot a bunch of photos and things. And I'll be sharing those on social media tomorrow. So you can be updated with what we've managed to achieve. And if you do want to donate to our little donations page, once again, link is down in the description. I'd love it if we could hit £1,000. That would be beautiful. So thank you. It's finally happening. I'm finally going to get myself another bow. How long's it been? I would say maybe 6 or 7, maybe even 10 episodes where I haven't had a bow. And to be honest with you, it's been driving me mad, like truly mad. And what's super embarrassing is it wasn't laziness. It was just pure defiance. I concluded that I didn't need to have a bow because you kept telling me that I need to have a bow. And I wanted to defy the commenters by just purposefully not getting a bow. And I just want to make it very clear that this is not a sensible or mature way to live your life. Boom. So you can all stop commenting now. I actually have myself a working bow with a really cool name too. This next thing is arguably more important than the bow. I don't know when I lost it, but at some point my handy box went missing. And the handy box is just filled with all the things that are handy. Buckets, flint and steels, you know, books and quills, just everything that's handy. You know what's handy in Minecraft. It disappeared. And now it's time to get a new one. And while I'm in the process of getting myself a new one, I also thought it would probably be smart to sort out what my shulker boxes are doing in my ender chest, because to be frankly honest, they're a little bit all over the place all of a sudden. And finally, after a lot of fiddling around, I think I'm done. So this is my handy box. That is one very small piece of the puzzle that I've just solved. Now I have a whole bunch of different shulker boxes inside my ender chest that are now fully sorted out with everything that I should need on a day-to-day basis. As I say, that is one of those things that I've wanted to do for ages. It's been stressing me out a little bit, and I'm very glad that we chose to do it. Now, back to the industrial district, which involves first going to the villager district and picking up this iron. By the way, this is the last iron I have left. I need to fix this thing. Another job for another day. So I've just started work on the output system for our furnaces, and it's a little bit more complicated than you would think. You know, you would imagine that you just have a bunch of hoppers running across, but that is way too many items for these hoppers to keep up with. It will all clog up. It'll be an absolute nightmare. Everything will go wrong. So instead, every 10 or so hoppers, I've got one of these droppers that the items all run into, and then those items are going to be shot out into a water stream, which is going to be taking all of the items into one dedicated storage system. So that means that there are only 10 sets of furnaces outputting to each bottleneck, which means the bottleneck isn't that big, compared to 128 furnaces outputting to one single bottleneck. It's going to be quite a big bottleneck. Now, I'm fairly certain at least that made sense. I hope. Let's be honest, probably not. We are making very gradual and very slow progress on this thing, but it is progress, and that's the most important thing. So all the hoppers are in, all of the droppers are now correctly positioned, and I've worked out where all of the dropper circuits are going to be going, because of course we have to create redstone circuits that will actually allow these things to drop out their items, and it's looking cool. If I have a serious think, I would say that this is my most frequently constructed redstone circuit in all of Minecraft. I don't think there's a single redstone circuit that I build more frequently than this one. In fact, I don't think there's a single redstone circuit that even comes close. No, I could say with 100% certainty, this is the one. Anyway, the water streams are now gradually being constructed, and I can see us being almost on the home straight now. Remember, in theory, we still have another farm to build after this. I'm gradually getting more and more excited at this build as it's being constructed and things are filling out a little bit more. Originally it looked a little bit empty, now it's looking chunky. This should be the final water stream, which is going to take all of the items into the master water stream, which is going to be off over here, and this is where all of the hoppers and all of the chests are going to be going. So this is going to be the output of our gigantic super smelter. Exciting, exciting, exciting. I really need to sort out this floor. I need to work out what to do with it. But I think this right here, yeah, that should be the final block placement in this entire build. So we've got the chests. Those are the output chests. We've got the hoppers running into them, so that's all good. We've got all of the furnaces in place. We've got all of the minecart rails. We've got the minecarts in place. We've got the input chest. that is it. That is it. That is one monstrous... that is a monstrous super smelter. I mean, look at this thing. It looks obscene. And I mean that in the best possible way. It is ridiculous. And it is ridiculously fast. Or at least it will be once we've fueled it up. Yep, there's still more stuff that we need to do. As mentioned earlier on, this entire super smelter is going to be fueled by that bamboo farm. And I want to create a system that allows us to detect when this thing needs fueling and send bamboo from the bamboo farm over to it. But then when this thing is filled, it will then know that and instead send the bamboo up into the storage system. It sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. All I need to do is take an output from this final hopper right here, and when this redstone output turns on, then that means the whole thing is full and the bamboo can go to the storage system. And that just involves a tiny little bit of redstone work. So if I place in that redstone torch right there, so currently the system is empty, which means that we should be blocking off the bamboo from going up into the storage system. And then we're going to have another piston that is going to be over here, which is kind of going to open up another water stream. So this one right here, this one is going to open up that water stream and allow the items to flow out, and then I guess up and then over somehow. Now if I was smart, I would have made it so that the bamboo input was actually over here. But I'm not smart. In fact, I've put it as far away as it can possibly be. That's like a straight diagonal. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not particularly upset about this because once again, it just looks really cool. Like every single thing that I add to this industrial district that looks in your head like it would be really ugly just makes it cooler. Like a giant water stream just going across the industrial district, that shouldn't look good, but then it does, because the industrial district is super industrial, and industrial additions to the industrial district make the industrial district better. I mean, come on, look at this. Look at this. We got lines going over there. It's all bright yellow, water streams, everything. It's all working. This is nuts. And having just activated the bamboo farm, everything seems to be working properly. The bamboo is making its way over, and it's all making its way into the furnaces. So the super smelter has been a great success. I'll be honest, it took a lot longer than I was expecting. A lot longer than I was expecting, but it is now constructed, and I am a man of my word. We are going to build another farm in this episode, and that farm is going to be a gigantic cactus farm. Now, it's going to be gigantic in terms of footprints, and I'm going to leave room for vertical expansion in the future if I feel like it's not quite efficient enough. But as I said earlier on in the episode, I don't need huge quantities of cactus. I mean, they are useful, especially for making cyan terracotta and things, but in reality, I don't need double chests upon double chests, so we don't have to make something too huge here. But having said this, of course, this is the industrial district, and we don't build tiny farms in this area, so this big platform right here that I'm currently in the process of creating, this is going to be the footprint of the farm. And the first job is to make it so that we can actually pick up these cactus, making use of water. This is basically a gigantic water tray. This is all coming together pretty nicely, and just so you know, I am going to fly away and say that this looks cool because I can already feel that it looks cool. Are you ready? Because this is going to be my first time seeing it look fairly complete. Look at that! Oh, how cool does that look? How cool does that look? Come on. Imagine when there's farms back here as well, but look, it looks like a full-blown circuit board. Like a full-blown circuit board. I don't even know what to say, this is ridiculous. I mean, I was expecting it to look cool, but that actually took me away a little bit. Just small tears in my eyes, really. I really don't know whether to be happy or depressed that I actually prefer the look of the industrial district to the base that I've spent hundreds of hours designing and perfecting and constructing to look as good as possible. Never again will I have to go out in the desert and do this, and subject myself to many prickles. For some reason, this is an incredibly satisfying place to stand. Even if jumping around it does make my head hurt just a tiny bit. Next part of the process is to place in all of the sand blocks that, of course, our cactus is actually going to be growing on. This stuff is pretty important, I think you could safely say. And then, of course, we have all of the actual cactus blocks. I think I could safely argue that these are also pretty important. In fact, probably the most important, let's be honest. And then finally, we have all of the fence posts. Now, what these fence posts do is they break the cactus, because cactus can't grow next to a block. So when it grows up, it will pop off, fall in the water, and then be transported up into my storage system. This is one of the only redstone-less farms. In fact, I think it is the only redstone-less farm that I currently have in my industrial district. And I must admit, the process of building this thing is really quite repetitive. Yeah, it's very, very repetitive. But the repetition has now been completed. We have got ourselves one big field of cacti with fence posts in between them and water underneath, and that constitutes a cactus farm. Now all I really care about is how this looks from above, and the answer is really cool, and will look even cooler once I actually get the remaining cacti in. As you can see, I kind of ran out towards the end there. But the excellent news is, it looks like we have actually had some cactus be produced by the farm. We've got 4 bits of cactus that have come out of this thing, which isn't much. It's really not much. Oh, there was another bit, but then I guess it got lost. That's kind of the problem with these cactus farms, is that no matter what you do, no matter how you do it, cactus will get destroyed by cactus. Like, the cactus pops off and just lands on the cactus and it gets lost. But as you just saw behind me, occasionally again, we do get a piece dropping through and ending up in the hoppers. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That just about wraps things up for today's Hermitcraft episode. It's been a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed myself. I've really enjoyed constructing these farms. I mean, I like building farms. And even though this technically isn't a farm, I mean, look how industrial it is. Look at it. I can't help myself. Just look at it. It's been interesting challenging myself to record a Hermitcraft episode in one day. My legs are dead. Okay, I've stood up like twice today. It's very unhealthy. But I am happy with the episode. It's all flowed really, really smoothly. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Catch you in the next video. See ya. And just one more tiny piece of shameless, but not very shameless self-promotion. The link to donate to the charity Mind is down in the description. We are running... Oh, goodness me, I've just realised. I'm running a half marathon tomorrow and I've just done nothing but sit down all day. My legs are going to be horrible and stiff. This is going to be catastrophic.